everybody, it's Kelly with Kelly's Crafts, and today we're going to make fun banners that you can do for rooms, sports, or anything else that sparks your imagination. Let's jump in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. The pattern I'm using today is the Ruby Star Bunting project sheet. So it has all the step-by-steps on how to use a 10-inch layer cake and how to make these cute banners that I have here behind me. So I've made a couple around the warehouse. We just kind of keep them around. It has everybody's names on them, and we kind of have them above everybody's desks. And my husband was jealous that he did not have one. So today we're going to make one for his little sports room. So I did cut out some of my items ahead of time just so we can speed up this process for you guys. But I wanted to kind of give you the step-by-step on how we went ahead and got started. So here is the pattern. This is a free digital download on our website. It is amazing. Check out all of our patterns. We have like 1,500, if not more. Tons and tons of them. So first off, what it does is it tells you to take a 10-inch layer cake or a 10-inch piece of fabric. I went ahead and already cut mine down. So I have a 5-inch by 10-inch square or rectangle. I have two of them. So those are both sides together. And it says to just go ahead and cut your 10-inch square in half, so you have the 5 by 10, what I have here. And then it says to fold it in half. So what we can do here is there's different options. You can do whatever makes you happiest. On this side here, you can see we did more of a triangle, and on this side over here where it says Rainy, it has like the triangle inward. So really up to your preference. We are going to be doing a triangle going outward, kind of how we have on Jess's over here. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Perfect. All right, so what we're gonna do is we have our 5 by 10-inch squares, and we are going to fold these in half. So I just do a simple fold. I'm not gonna go ahead and iron, just to get the point across. It's just a nice little fold in half. Hot dog style is what I like to call it. Okay, and then what we want to do is cut this at a 45-degree angle, and that's how we're going to get these points right here. Okay, and then just like don't get... Right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut at the 45-degree angle, and I will have some scraps left over. You can save these for later, or give them to a friend because we don't like fabric waste, of course. All right, so here I have my 5 by 10-inch bunting piece, and I went ahead and cut on the 45-degree angle. Again, I just folded that in half, as you can see with that little crease here. We'll iron that out, so don't worry about that. And I did that for every single one. On the pieces that I have behind me, I did do those one-sided. So I just went ahead and stuck with this, did that, and that was it. We're sticking them on the wall, and they're not getting touched and played with. As you know, fabric kind of frays, so if you are planning on having anyone touching it, I would definitely suggest that you do them sewn how I have here, and that's the steps that we're actually going to go over. But if you want to just do the fabric one-sided, kind of how I have behind me, we'll just stop at this step, and let's move forward on how to get this all sewn up. So we'll go ahead and fold my second piece, and you will find out how many pieces you need based on how many letters. So I went ahead and kind of doodled it out and figured out what would work best for me, and it was, I got the amount of number pieces that I needed, and I have them alternating in red and blue. So my husband was, like I said, jealous that I made all these cute little bunting name banners for all my coworkers, and he did not get one for his sports room. So that's what we're doing here today. So after I have these two pieces cut out, they are just Kona solids, so it's the exact same on both sides, which is great. Keep in mind, if you are using a print, you're going to go ahead and put those pretty sides together, and we're going to go ahead and stitch this up with a 1/4-inch seam all the way around. And here is my 1/4-inch seam that I have gone ahead and stitched all the way around, and I did take my pinking shears and snipped just to get rid of some of that bulk there, and I'm going to turn it inside out. Now here you can get creative. I have either my purple thing or I have one of these little pokers, and I just want to make sure that I get out those corners nice and pop those out. Got it all folded out, and then we're going to go ahead and get it pressed. There's one, and I just kind of finagle it with my hand to make sure it's nice and flat. Give it a nice little press on each side. And those little creases that we had, again, we can just ignore those because they're getting ironed out right here. Perfect. So now we have our little bunting pieces. So what I'm gonna do is stitch along all the sides except for the top here, because we are gonna flip it inside out like we have right here. So let's get started. I do about a 1/4 inch from the edge. This little piece I have here is just a piece of scrap fabric. I did that just so I can go ahead and get my stitch started, so if there is any issues with the tension, it won't be happening in my project, but on this scrap piece of fabric. So keeping your scraps can work out because you can use those for getting your stitches started. Okay, so now that we have quickly put together all of our little bunting pieces, I'm gonna lay them out, just coordinating, going red, blue, red. I did just go ahead and take a piece of merch from his giant gear and tried to match the best that I could with some fabrics that we have here. The blue, I just did a Kona solid, and then I had some scrap red that I went ahead and used. So you can do red, blue, red, blue. If you have a different team, you can totally change up the colors. And this just makes it so fun. Or if you have a room you're trying to match, you can absolutely do it that way as well. So I've got these alternating, going like this, and what I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut out my letters, and I did put hot fix on the back of these, and we'll just go ahead and iron those on, and that's how I'm gonna make my little Giants banner. If you want to do something a little bit more football related, I have a fabric. This is a fabric by Moda, and it has these cute footballs on there with the field goal on there, and then it also has, you know, kind of having the field in the background. And then we also have it in another colorway. I love these. All right, now that we have gone over all of our steps to make our little bunting squares, we are just going to finish up. So here you can add in your letters or any sort of design that you want. See behind me, I cut out a few shapes. I had one that I just wanted to show off the little bee that's in there, and the other one I cut out a little star. So you can cut out, like I said, anything you want to. I have a Cricut at home, so I cut out some plays, and I might even add this a little bit later, just to add in some fun extra pieces into my banner. So I just took some white fabric and I traced out all of my letters. Important step, trace them out in reverse. As you can see, this looks reversed, but this piece will be turned around and your pretty side of the fabric will have the letter going correctly. So please keep that in mind and do it in reverse. And if you go onto our website, we have so many different letters that you can pick from. There's the Ruby Star Society one, which comes with a pattern. It has some different letters, so you can just trace around these, a light box, or you can put it up to your window. So here are the Ruby Star letters. And then we also have one called Alphabet and Numbers by Riley Blake. and they have different shapes. So it gives you a little breakdown of the different styles that they have in there. And then they are all bigger, but just the different sizes. Those are the cover sheets of what they kind of look like. And then there's also the holiday banner, Alphabet and Number by Riley Blake. And again, all of these are free downloads on our website. So take a look at those and you'll have a bunch of different options on making letters. So what we are going to do is you can take your paper that has your letter cut out, and you are going to put your hot fix on there and trace around it. So I've already done that step. You trace around on your hot fix. Here's the hot fix. I just bought a tube because I've been making quite a lot of these banners. It says to iron on this side, so this is the side I'm going to trace on. You can do a marker, a pen. I just used a regular old pen and traced out the letter that I want. As you can see, you can kind of see the letter behind there. If it's a little too difficult, you can tape this paper onto a window, or if you have a light box, and put it on there just to get a better view of your picture behind, so you can go ahead and trace out your letters. And then once you trace those on, you're going to iron it onto your fabric. Again, make sure that's on the wrong side of the fabric so that you are getting the pretty side on the front, as we have here. All right, so let's get started cutting. I'm just going to cut along this black line here, and I do also save these scraps sometimes with the hot fix on there in case I'm working on a collage quilt or any other applique. I can use these later because you never know if you're gonna need a small little piece. So I did keep these in a little Ziploc baggie because they already have the hot fix on there, so they're already adhesive. So there's no point in wasting them, but if you don't want the scraps, you do not have to keep them. The scissors I am using, these are called the Karen K. Buckley Perfect Scissors. I highly, highly recommend them, especially if you're using Steam-A-Seam or Hot Fix or something. It just cuts through the paper and the fabric so, so nicely. And done. So now you can see I have giants laid out here. All right, now I will put away my perfect scissors. And what we're gonna do here is we are just going to place them on these. You can stitch around them just right on the inside of it. Again, mine aren't really gonna be touched and messed with too much, so I'm just gonna go ahead and iron them on. These are good for a few washes before they start like peeling up or doing anything like that. And Hot Fix has just been really great for me. You use your favorite Steam-A-Seam or some sort of adhesive, whatever works best for you. So what we're going to do is take our letter. Again, I'm just gonna go ahead and press my banner one more time and just make sure that this is nice and centered on there. And the way to get the backing off of here, I have a really good tip. So it can be a little tricky. So what we're going to do is I just take the back side of it and I take a little pin and I'm going to kind of just hold my fingers together and score along this paper. It's not going to cut through the fabric, but it gives it a nice little tear on there, and then you can just peel off the back. So easy. Look at that. So then I can just take this over to my iron and go ahead and iron it on there. Cool. So I am going to go, let's see, I'm going to go about 2.5 inches down from the top to place my letter. And I kind of just center it as best as I can here. And again, I've already taken off the backing, so we're just going to go ahead and iron that on here. Give it a good little press. All right, now we got our G on there. See, it's not coming off. And then we will move on to the next letters. So I'm going to make my binding from a panel that I had. I did just cut 2.5-inch strips, and I sewed all of those together as I would just a regular binding. I folded them in half, gave them a nice press, and then I'm going to fold them in half this way and meet in the middle, and then again doing the exact same thing, so I'll have it half the size of what this is. So here I did just stitch my fabric at an angle, and it was where it had front sides facing together. This was a nice little triangle here. I did just cut that off, and then you go ahead and give that a good press, open it up, and I pressed the seams open to eliminate any bulk. And then I went ahead and gave it a nice press in the center to have it ready to go for my next step. Good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in on both sides, kind of just meet it right there in the middle and give it a nice little press. So we will go ahead and do that. So I have just finished my binding. It is way longer than it probably needs to be, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and pinch both ends and find my center, so I make sure my item is nice and centered. So right here is going to be where I'm gonna wanna make my center piece, and I'll just figure out how many letters I have and then what's gonna land right in the middle. So I do have a even number, so that makes it a little weird. Instead of putting just the odd one in the middle here, I'm just going ahead and make that center an open space and have my letters around it. The spacing in between your letters can vary on what your preference is, how many letters you have. We have some people who have so many letters, so I made a smaller gap in between each of these little banners, but that is totally up to your preference. All right, so I have my center here, and I am just gonna start from the inside and work my way out, just so I make sure, again, I stay in the center. So I have my center marking here. I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it just so I don't mistake or lose it or anything like that. And I do have lines on this one, so I'm probably gonna go by that, but in the other ones that I have behind me, I did about 1.5 to 2 inches in between each bunting piece, just again depending on how big each name is. I'm going to skip one of these little sections here and put this in here. Again, I just kind of slide it on in there, making sure I have the back on there and the top, and I'm going to pin that one in place, and we're going to do that all the way across. Okay, so I do have pins in my binding, which can be a little scary. Something that I like to do is I just fold them over each other and kind of just keep it on the little space at the table I have in front of me. So I will just take them and fold them right on top of each other so they kind of just make a little bit smaller of a space. Not a necessary step, but I don't want to get poked by a pin, so you do what works best for you. And then I also have way too much binding, as we predicted would happen. So I'm just going to snip it off with some scissors and call it a day. And I do have a piece here where you can see I have my binding going together. I don't really want to keep that right on the end, so I'm actually going to cut right there so I don't have that included. And then again on the end, you can make this kind of the same size here. I have lots of leftover as we had predicted, so I can just line these up just like so, and then snip it just so they're around the same size. Perfect. All right, and like I said, I'm just gonna go ahead and keep this in this area right here, just right in front of me, so that I don't have any pins poking me in the meantime. to get this started, I'm just going to simply go ahead and fold it over just a little bit so I don't have a raw edge, and then just fold these in just like normal, how we have it the other ways. And I kind of finagle it a little bit just so I make sure I don't have any of that raw edge sitting out there. All right, now that I'm getting closer to my little bunting pieces, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna move them to my lap just so I have, again, some space, and make sure that these are nice and flat. And I'm gonna pull out the pins right before I go over them. So again, I am coming to an end, so I'm going to go ahead and fold that under, fold in my sides, again, because I just want to avoid any raw edges here. And I'm all done! All right, you guys, we are all done with our giant spanner. This is gonna be perfect in my husband's sport room. He loves watching football, and I had to make him his favorite team. You can make these for teams, you can make these for holidays, Christmas. I made a Halloween one, even putting ones with your name on there for kids' rooms, anything like that, parties, birthdays. Even if you're doing a 1-year-old birthday, it'd be fun to just write one and have the theme of their fabrics right there in front of them while they're maybe doing their cake tasting. So if you guys have any questions, definitely let us know. Subscribe and check out some of our other videos. I'm Kelly with Kelly's Crafts, and have a great day.